We are excited to have Nishino America as our title sponsor for 2026. Nishino is driven by ingenuity and R&D, bringing innovative chemistry that works. They back every product with a customer-focused expert who knows your field and is ready to help. Stop guessing and find solutions today at www.nichino.net. Thanks again for Nishino for sponsoring the show and this episode of the Specialty Cropcast.
Welcome to the Specialty Cropcast on Pomes and Stones. Join us for real conversations with farmers, agribusiness owners, and industry experts as we dive into farming, products, and the business of agriculture, all from the people who know it best.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to
Welcome
the
back.
Specialty Cropcast. We have a great episode here for us, for everybody here that's listening. We are in the Nishino studios as always. So obviously a thanks to them for supporting conversations like these that help move specialty crop growers forward. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about stabilizing tart cherry supply, promotion, and industry unity. And in order to talk about that, I thought we should maybe get someone who's a bit of an authority on the topic.
Expert.
We have the president of both CMI and CIAB, Amy Cohn, calling in virtually.
Hey, hey, hi guys. How are you?
Amy? Good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to be with all of you today.
Thanks for coming on.
Yes, this is
Of course.
super exciting. The first virtual attempt. So hopefully everything goes smooth and we put out a quality podcast for everybody listening.
Yep.
So for growers who don't know you personally so far, can you share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Of course. Well, first, thank you all for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, my name's Amy, as you all know, and I'm actually a registered dietitian by training. And my entire career has really centered around strategy, consumer insights, and communications within food and nutrition. So I've been working for about 26 years now, and my entire 26-year career has been in food and nutrition. I would say I've spent a bulk of my professional life working in consumer packaged goods, where I really got to see firsthand how alignment between marketing, science, and government affairs can create real value. And I really love that because when you can get those three working to add value and sell cases off the shelf, that's where the magic happens. But during my journey in consumer packaged goods, which I loved, I realized that I really wanted to work closer to the source of food. As a dietitian, I've always have cared about what ends up on somebody's plate. But in this role, I get to work with the people who grow it. Now that's different.
That's awesome.
That is personal, right? And so when this opportunity came forward, I jumped.
Yeah. So how
That's
does
awesome.
explain the balance
thank you.
between being the president for both CMI and CIAB? How does that
Well, it's a beautiful evolution to how this industry used to operate in the past. That in and of itself, the leadership long before I came on board decided to make a strategic shift because they wanted greater direction and better results. And so they made this decision to combine the two under one leader to help streamline communication, to make sure we're not duplicating work, and to work hand in hand together. CIAB is overseen by USDA. It oversees the federal marketing order, which I know we're going to talk a lot about today, whereas CMI really focuses on promotion and marketing. So they're two distinct entities, but now they're working more hand in hand collectively together. And for me, we've only known the organization with this structure because I wasn't here before. But I have to say the streamlining of it and the ability for me to oversee and help advance both under one and leverage the strengths of each organization has been really fun.
So what kind of led you? What was a deciding moment, or what pushed you to the tart cherry industry out of all of your years being a dietitian and working in all of these different areas? How do you land on the tart cherries? Is it just that we were in like the worst
Dire need.
scenario, the dire straits of it? We need a good motivator to get everybody kind of behind this movement and kind of push everybody together. So how do you land on the old
Yeah.
core tart
How did
cherry
I
industry?
land here? Where did I come from? And
Yeah.
how did I show up here? It's a great story. I mean, as you all know now, I'm a registered dietitian. I have always cared very deeply about where nutrition shows up in people's lives. And I've always said, in fact, I have a sticky note on my wall here that's probably about 5 years old. Okay. And I always make a joke that my second language is sticky notes, right? So I write a lot of my thoughts on sticky notes because I want to save them. Now, in the billion of sticky notes I've written in my 26-year career, there's only 4 that have made it to my wall. Okay. And one of them says, farmers, growers produce every nutrient that we put in our mouth every single day. And I want you to know, I have that right here. If you want to know my other 3 sticky notes, we can talk about that if time allows, right? But for me, that is the foundation of why I entered into food and nutrition and why I became a registered dietitian. And I want to be really, really clear here. Growers produce every nutrient we put in our mouth, whether it's fresh, frozen, dried, canned, or juice. Nutrition doesn't just live in the perimeter of the store. It lives in the frozen aisle. It lives in the dried fruit aisle. It lives in the canned aisle. It lives in the juice aisle. And tart cherries are a perfect example of that, right? As you all know, tart cherries are harvested in a very short window, July, like boom, boom, right? They're immediately stabilized, but then they become a part of people's routines year round. So you guys, it was that connection right there from farm to function that drew me in. And so when the executive search firm, which this industry hired, which by the way, that in and of itself, this industry having the courage and the leadership to go, we need to hire an executive search firm, should tell this industry that the leadership in this industry wants to evolve. Right. And so when I saw that posting or when I became aware of this job, I couldn't double click on the job announcement fast enough. So that's my story.
Awesome. So I guess we'll move on to the next section here, and we'll talk about why tart cherries matter, I guess, and more why tart Montmorency is very important to us. So why such a unique crop in the U.S.?
Montmorency tart cherries tell a very specific story. That is why they are unique. Our story, right? They're primarily grown dominantly in the United States. They are an American grown fruit. And then you have Michigan, right? The cherry capital of the world that on average produces anywhere between 70 to 75% of the crop. And the Montmorency tart cherry is the most studied cherry variety in human nutrition research. I always say, and I always say this, especially now that I'm getting my feet wet and I'm getting out there and I'm talking, I really remind people, including our very own within this industry, but in particular, especially those externally, not all cherries are the same. And when it comes to Montmorency, specificity matters. And that's what makes this fruit so special.
Well, so what makes the tart cherry industry different from other fruits, in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, what makes tart cherries different is how they're designed to be used, right? I just talked about it a little bit as I was introducing myself and as I was telling you what drew me to this role. As we all know, tart cherries are primarily consumed in processed formats. So we have juice, we have dry, frozen, of course, and canned, because obviously this fruit is perishable and it has to be cooled and stabilized immediately after harvest. So processing isn't an afterthought for tart cherries. It's foundational. And processing, when done well, it preserves that amazing nutrition and the spectacular, that like bold, vibrant flavor. I mean, the first time I tasted tart cherry on the field last summer, I mean, it bursts in your mouth. There's no other fruit quite like it. And when you process it, you maintain that joy that I call. It's literally joy, right? And that's what allows tart cherries to move from this short harvest window to year-round relevance. And I think that's what makes the Montmorency tart cherry industry different than other industries.
Something that I think we've kind of echoed before in the past is that farmers were kind of more secretive and almost, kind of in it for themselves on kind of what they're
Yeah.
doing and what's being successful. But now you kind of think about, there's been a lot of talk about the imports. And I think when Nels was on the podcast, Nels Velica, he said that,
Mm,
what we're looking for is about 400 million pounds of tart cherries, which we only can produce about 200 million in the States ourselves. So
right,
nobody wants the imports, but at the same time, if we want to keep that market there and keep people interested in the tart cherry products, like we have to have that. And
right,
so I think
right.
it becomes more important to kind of get behind it as a big strategic thing to get everybody involved, within the entire country. So as that becomes more important, what do you think would be the negative effect if that unity that we're fighting so hard for kind of falls through?
Yeah, great question. And thank you for it. I'll be really frank. Without unity, specialty crops fragment and value
Mhm.
erodes. So unity protects integrity, identity. It funds credible, informed research. It strengthens demand and it supports integrity, which I led with. Ultimately, though, unity, it protects the long-term viability of the farms behind the crop. So in my strategy, I have three distinct mandates, and one of them is to unite the industry to drive our mutual success. This is not a me or you or my farm versus that farm. This is a we. This is an us. That is how we win. That is how we stabilize.
Right.
That is how we grow. Without unity, everything else I talk about today, it doesn't matter. So unity is critical to our future.
So I guess now that we're talking about unity and kind of what broadly affects everybody, in
Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
in the States, let's talk about probably the most popular item on the list
Yes.
of questions would be the federal marketing order. Obviously, like I had said before, I just kind of, after listening to you speak, a couple different times, I had multiple questions I had written down, which kind of makes
Yeah.
up kind of what we're gonna roll into here. But there's a
Sure.
lot to the federal marketing order that maybe not everyone knows about, pays attention to, and definitely some important things with the optimum supply formula that most people, I think, have the biggest issue with right now. And so
Correct.
I used a lot of words there in a lot of broad
You
topics
did.
that we're going to get into. So let's talk about the federal marketing order and talk about your guys's, the 5 pillars of it and exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
All right, great question. And yeah, you did say a lot of words because the federal marketing order is multi-layered, multi-dimensional, can be complicated, can be cumbersome. And so let me try and break it down because this is an incredibly important part of our industry. So I always say at its core, the Federal Marketing Order, which is often in small talk called the FMO, so people can kind of understand that acronym. It means the Federal Marketing Order. It is literally the structure that allows our industry to work together. So let me pause there. I'm going to
Mhm.
say that again. The Federal Marketing Order is a structure. I like to call it a toolbox. I love analogies. You're going to hear them frequently
Mhm.
from me. It allows our industry to work together. That's important. We just talked
Mhm.
about unity, right? So the Federal Marketing Order, it gives us tools. So the Federal Marketing Order is a big toolbox. And when you open it up, there are tools in that Federal Marketing Order. There's tools to manage supply, build demand, generate industry intelligence, and govern ourselves in a coordinated way, rather than operating as disconnected individual players in a volatile marketplace. So one of the tools that you already brought up is supply management, which operates through what we call the optimum supply formula, often referred to as the OSF. And it is a mechanism that is designed to help align supply with demand and reduce that extreme volatility. So the FMO is essentially our industry's toolbox for stability and long-term strategy. Okay, so that's like, hopefully that wasn't too much to say, but I really think that's important because what I've heard in my year of being in this role is most people, although I think we're helping with all the education that we've been providing, but a lot of people that I've talked to thought that the FMO was only the OSF. And what I want to make sure people who are listening and watching this understand is the FMO is a toolbox that has many tools in it, one of which is the optimal supply formula.
How does that formula, is that like, where are you guys collecting that information from for that, for supply and
Yeah,
demand?
great question. So, in I'm going to answer that question, but let me
Yeah.
rewind just a
Yep.
little bit because back in the spring, produced or launched or sent out, that's the right word. I sent out a survey to the industry asking them to rate their satisfaction level with each of the 5 tools in the toolbox. And I can go through those 5 tools if you want. And I got the results back and it was very clear, crystal clear, like beyond crystal clear, that the tool that people in the industry are most dissatisfied with is the OSF.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, because of that, what I want you to know and what I want this industry to know is I hear you, I
Mhm.
see you, and I understand the extreme level of dissatisfaction. So, now what do we do about it? We don't sit and complain about it. We don't reflect on what we could have done or should have done or would have done. We do things differently. So, our first thing that we are tackling as part of our strategy is to reform the OSF. And we have put together an OSF reform working group that comprises growers, processors, external advisors, and experts. And we have had some really good, robust meetings. And the goal of that, and this is really important for everyone to understand, the goal of the OSF working group is to produce or generate a recommendation on how we want to reform the OSF moving forward. And that recommendation will go to the USDA.
Mm.
So that's a lot of information to digest. If you remember anything from this, it's this. I know this industry is dissatisfied for a variety of different reasons with the OSF. We heard you. We have a working group, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we will have a recommendation this summer to the USDA. That's really important to know. I know the referendum and the vote is going to be in about a month later in March. And I know you are going to vote on whether we keep the FMO, the federal marketing order, or if we don't. And what I want people to know is when you go and vote, the OSF as you have known it is not the OSF you're voting for moving forward.
Mhm.
What I can't tell you today, and I wish I could, well, what is it, Amy? How are we reforming it? Are you changing the calculation? How is it impact? What are you doing with imports? All those questions are supremely relevant. And I am telling you, this group is tackling and working through that. And soon we will have a recommendation. So the OSF is a big, dare I say, gnarly topic, right?
Mhm.
But it's one that we're wrapping our arms around. It's critically important that we reform it to better meet growers' needs today. Things have changed. The environment has changed. Consumers have changed. Imports have changed. So much has changed. So the OSF needs to change too.
Mhm.
And we're working on that. So I hope that
Yeah.
I wanted really for people to understand that that work is well underway and more to come very soon.
I think it's important to mention too that if just because you're unhappy with the OSF, if that's what your opinion is, that if voting no for the FMO just based on your opinion of the OSF and not what the other pillars or the other information that Amy's going to talk about and kind of where
Yep.
what else this group is in the marketing order does, it's important to know that if you are strictly you throw no on and it gets voted down, that all of the hard work that Amy and
Mhm.
all these groups are doing to kind of move the tart cherry industry forward goes away. And
That's
so
right.
I think that's a
Exactly.
good point to make, is
That's
that
right.
people can be upset about it. And yes, like you said, we have a chance to reform it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that doesn't, what that plan is doesn't come out until after the vote. So you got to
Yeah.
go out there and put your trust into, what the group is doing. And
That's right.
so,
That's right. I appreciate that commentary and just for this audience to know, we really genuinely wanted to come out with a recommendation before the vote. And I want people to understand that our delay in getting you and the USDA our recommendation is not because we're being lazy. It's not because we're fighting behind walls. We are not. It's because we're being deliberate. We're being strategic. We're being thoughtful. And that is really hard work and it takes time. And this is a really, really important tool in the toolbox. So the delay in getting that recommendation is because we're being so thoughtful and so strategic. And so just know that. And we're working our tails off. And it's been a phenomenal process. And I am optimistic we'll have something in the summer for everyone to see and
you know,
react to.
right
Yeah.
now, you could release the information right now on the Specialty Crop Podcast, and the title could be Amy releases new
Oh
I
boy.
Iowa.
Oh boy.
That would really
but
drive in the.
I could, but I can't. But I need to honor my group, the group that's working through this, and my board members. But I
Right.
Yep.
appreciate it.
Hey, it was
I'll
worth it. It
think
was
of
worth a try. It was worth a try.
you know what? I like it. I like it. I like it. Now, would you like me not to take a? Would you like me to describe the other tools in the toolbox, just so people understand that it's not just about the OSF or
Yeah, probably.
where? Okay, yeah,
That'd be great. Yeah.
I think because it's really important when people go and vote for the FMO. Remember, I love to say the federal marketing order, the FMO, is a big toolbox. Okay, and in that toolbox, there's 5 tools. All right. First is the supply management, the OSF, what we've been talking about, and it helps moderate extreme oversupply and support price stability. That's the role of the OSF. Second tool, diversion programs. Okay. Those exist in the toolbox because they create alternate outlets for fruit in very large crop years. So that's the second tool. Third tool, market development. So this is marketing and promotion for long-term demand building. And then the fourth tool is industry intelligence. So this is all that fabulous data that Heather collects, right? That we need. We need data to make informed, fact-based decisions. Bottom line. Okay. And so when we don't have that data, your guess is as good as my guess. I don't like to make business decisions on hunches or guesses. I like to make business decisions based in data and facts. And so that fourth tool, industry intelligence, really important, right?
Mhm.
And then the fifth tool, which I think sometimes people forget about or they don't acknowledge, is self-governance. This allows growers and processors to lead this work together under USDA oversight. So those are the 5 tools: supply management, diversion programs, promotion and marketing, industry intelligence, that data collection, and then, of course, self-governance. And each tool, just like tools in a typical toolbox, a screwdriver, a hammer, a wrench, each tool serves a distinct purpose. And together, they function as a coordinated toolbox, helping us manage both supply and demand in a very balanced, disciplined way. So when people go and vote for the federal marketing order, like you said earlier, this is not an a la carte menu. You can't vote for this supply management, but not vote for marketing and promotion. You vote for the whole, it's an all in or an all out thing. And so I think that's really important for people to understand, and that the tools are so much more than just the OSF.
Mhm.
I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Zach?
So-
Zach has some burning questions.
Without an
Good.
without an updated OSF, is
Yeah.
there a reason that the FMO vote cannot be delayed until we see an
Look at
updated
you.
formula?
Wow. That is a juicy question.
I love it.
All right. We have had these conversations. The executive committee and the CIAB board has had these conversations. And we could have asked the USDA for a delay of a year. But I'm going to be honest with you. I actually said I don't think we should delay it. So people can blame me. I think delaying it a year would potentially indicate that things will change if we just give it 2 more years. Now, you can't turn around a declining business in a year or 2 years, or dare I say 3 years.
Mhm.
So we're going to make choices. We're going to be confident in the choices that we're making because they're data driven, and we're going to lock it in. And we didn't feel that, I didn't feel the need to delay it to prove, because it doesn't change the work and the stamina and the energy that we're putting in now. So through really serious conversation. Now, at this time when we had this serious conversation, I don't think we were nearly as advanced in our OSF thinking as we are today, but I still stand behind it. I don't think delaying a year will change the vote. I don't. We are in it to win it. I can tell you that. I firmly believe in this crop. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. And we are making really hard decisions. We're having really tough conversations, but we are putting a roadmap together to get us to stabilization and then eventually to growth. You know, before I came in, there wasn't great understanding of why we exist. What's our purpose?
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people will go, my purpose is to sell and make money. Agreed. But what's our purpose? What makes us tick? Why do we matter? Well, now we do have a purpose statement, which we didn't have a year ago. And that is our North Star. And when you start creating strategy and structure in a roadmap, you get alignment, you get unity, and you get to the ability where you can make choices, stand behind them, and not walk, but run after it. So for me, I'm going to do that. The industry is going to do that, whether it's a year or 2 years. I just didn't think that would make or break the vote. A lot of people might disagree, and I welcome that, but that's how we landed where we landed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Works.
You more?
Great question.
yet.
Zach,
Not
Zach
yet.
walked in with his notepad of questions, which were a little bit off. He didn't tell me he was bringing questions until this morning, and I was
That's
like,
okay.
Amy's
That's
on her
okay.
toes.
I
so
love it.
you
I love
work
it.
through 'em.
Are the foreign markets being included in this new formula?
Well, unfortunately, imports are not allowed to be part of the OSF formula. However, so that's a regulatory governance, can't break the USDA rules. However, we're getting smarter on imports, and we are now understanding the real impact on imports and what that is doing for our farmers. So, yes, Will our import knowledge inform the recommendation of the OSF? Absolutely. What that looks like, not sure yet, but that is a hearty part of our conversation for sure.
Right. It always feels bad when people are dumping the fruit in from other countries, but we're forcing ourselves to put our fruit onto
On the
ground,
ground. Yeah.
which is very
Absolutely.
disheartening.
Absolutely. Incredibly disheartening, incredibly depressing, incredibly sad. So the tools and the strategy and the choices that we are now making will help us on a path to better combat imports. True Tart, if you've heard of True Tart, I don't mean to jump the gun to True Tart, but that was inspired largely as a way to block out imports because you can't. True Tart is a certification mark and it is only going to be used on U.S. grown Montmorency Tart Cherry products. Okay. It's very clear. If you're not U.S. grown, you can't use this mark. And if you're not a Montmorency, you cannot use this mark. And it has the product, whatever the product may be, whether it's juice, whether it's a trail mix, whether it's something else, it has to carry a meaningful amount of Montmorency. So True Tart is one tool. It's not the only tool, but it's one tool on where we're trying to block out imports and provide clarity to the consumer and the buyer. Because honestly, if I didn't work in this industry and I went to my Walmart or I went to my Trader Joe's or I went to my Kroger, I wouldn't know if the tart cherries I'm buying in the dried aisle or the juice aisle, I wouldn't know origin. It says tart. Is it Montmorency tart? Is it a bad actor? So this is a way to provide clarity to our audience. And I'm really excited about True Tart as a really important and impactful tool in our toolbox that we can own and manage. We own it. We are now in control of our own destiny when it comes to that. And I think that's really powerful for this industry. And I look forward to launching it this summer and utilizing that moving forward. I think it's going to give us a lot of awareness and much deeper understanding on why they should care. Why should a buyer or consumer care that it's Montmorency? Why should a consumer or buyer care that it's U.S. grown? They're probably going to pay more. Why should they care? Well, we have to tell that story. We have to show them why they should care. Because every time you buy a tart cherry that is from Turkey, my United States cherry farmers lose money. We need to tell that story. That matters. And there's a lot of imported tart cherries that are not Montmorency, but they're saying they're Montmorency. There's bad actors out there. We need to help people understand what to look for and why that matters. And you know what? It might be a little bit more, but that's okay because I know when I buy a product that has True Tart on it, I am guaranteed these things. I know what to get. If you guys are familiar, I think the most or one of the most successful trademarks or certification marks, is certified Angus beef. Are you familiar with that? Certified Angus beef, right? So I buy beef. I go to the grocery store. I buy beef, right? And sometimes I don't buy certified Angus beef for a variety of reasons. But most of the time I do. And you know what? I do pay more for it. But you know what? I know what I'm getting. And that matters more to me. And when you look at that story of certified Angus beef, how can we do that for U.S. grown Montmorency tart cherries? And that is where True Tart comes in. Does that make sense?
That's awesome.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
God.
thank you.
It's so awesome. I mean, I genuinely, I get giddy because I was just at a very influential health communications and nutrition conference. I was literally in a room with the top 30, so not 300, like the best of the best nutrition communicators in the United States. So think like the people who have 2 million followers on
Mhm.
TikTok. Think about the Good Morning America dietitian. These are incredibly influential dietitians that communicate and educate with facts, not fads, but facts. And I went into the room and I talked about Montmorency Tart Cherries and got them energized and excited. And they actually applauded when I previewed True Tart. You know why? Because they're communicators. And their job is to communicate and help people understand what to look for when they're shopping. And it's really hard when we have all this different labeling and we have imports coming in saying they're one thing, but they're not. I mean, it's really hard for the average person, whether you're a buyer or whether you're a consumer shopping in your local store, to really know what tart cherry do I buy. This will help. And that clarity will drive awareness, will hopefully drive purchase, and will really help people understand, you know what? A cherry isn't just a cherry. I got to look for this type of cherry. So that's the beauty of True Tart.
You spoke briefly about the blending of it, right? It has to have a certain percentage of Tart Montmorency in it. Do you think that,
Yes,
obviously the implications of a super successful, launch of this can be huge, but
huge.
do you think that if it is as successful as everybody hopes for, that as other people see it being successful and see people choosing, the United States product, what are the chances that people try and buy more Tart Montmorency to hit that threshold in order to get that sticker, even though it's might majority not be Tart Montmorency from the United States? But does that is that negatively affected in the long run, or do you think that that just boosts the Tart Montmorency sales in the U.S. in order for them to get that product to put it into their finished product? Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
Well,
I love a good hypothetical.
yeah, I think I'm going to answer your question, but you tell me if I don't. Okay. So, because that's a great question that you just asked. So, this certification mark is about credibility. This isn't a logo. This isn't a slogan. This isn't a marketing campaign. This is a standard that is built to protect identity. So, we have to set standards to hold this mark. Think about certified Angus beef. You think certified Angus beef allows beef to have the mark if it doesn't meet their criteria? What would that do? What if certified Angus beef opened or made their criteria more lenient? That
Mhm.
would degrade what would that do? That would degrade, my hypothesis is it would degrade what that certification mark means, right? So I have gotten alignment from the boards on juice. I'm sorry, not on juice, on canned, on frozen, and dried, even for our blended products. And I'm happy to share what that is. Juice and concentrate, so beverages, are much more complicated. Why? Because it's really easy for people to slip in some stuff and for it to be no pun intended here, for it to be diluted. And so we're working through that now with the board, and hopefully we'll come to some resolution soon. But what I want to be really clear here in this podcast and for the growers to hear that this isn't a marketing campaign. It's not a slogan. It's not a logo. This is a standard to protect our identity, right? People really struggle, even saying Montmorency. I mean, right? Let's be really honest. It's not a consumer friendly word, right? I often, funny story about my mother, like any kid, when I got the job and I accepted the job, I called my mom and I told her I got the job. Funny, I said, but they told me this is going to be tough. The environment is complex. There, all of that. And my mother said two things. Well, one thing, she said, "Oh God, don't they know that my daughter loves a good challenge?" One, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom." And then two, she's like, "Oh my gosh, Amy, I went to the store." So this was a later conversation, and I bought 2 jars of maraschino cherries to support you. Okay. I only tell that story. Maraschino cherries are awesome. I love maraschino cherries, but I only tell that story to showcase people don't get it. They don't know how to say Montmorency. I've had somebody tell me it's Montgomery. I'm like, it's, so it's very complicated already. So if we can decomplicate that, you know what? Just look for True Tart. It's easy for people to say. It's kind of fun. It's super joyful. It's bold. It's vibrant. It embraces the personality of a Montmorency Tart Cherry. I really think that in and of itself is really going to help. Did I answer your question, or did I start going off
No,
on a
I think
tangent?
you did there in the
Okay.
middle.
Yeah,
Okay.
My
Good.
concern would have been like,
Good.
say,
Like
if people can
juice,
see that
right?
juice, you can get 25% extra boost on your sales if you have the True Tart mark, and someone from Turkey says,
Yes.
I'm going to buy a
Yes.
bunch of Tart Montmorency
No,
juice and
they're
dump it
not going
in,
to be.
dilute that
No,
down.
Yep.
I wonder if there were limits in place to make sure that that's not going
no.
to be possible.
Sorry.
'Cause,
I love it.
It's
I
not
love
gonna.
that.
It's not going to be possible, right?
Right.
This is ours. I have no desire, zero, zilch, to support a turkey cherry farmer. Apologies, but I don't. I have been hired, and my desire is to protect and grow the U.S. tart cherry industry, and that starts with our growers.
Mhm.
Because if we don't have a product, it doesn't matter, right? So no, turkey's not going to be able to do that. And I also just want to right size expectations. Okay. True Tart's awesome. I genuinely, it's probably the most exciting thing for me to work on for this industry. I think it's going to give us something tangible, and it's a unifier. We started off this conversation about unity. This isn't about one brand being against another brand. This is about unifying. We are about Montmorency U.S. grown tart cherries. How do we unify that? You can keep your brand, but this is a certification mark, right? That will help that. So I really firmly believe that this is a unifier as well as a tool in the marketing toolbox, so to speak. But a certification mark is only as good as if people use it, right? So this is voluntary. I'm not forcing people to use this in the industry. But if it's not used, then it kind of falls flat. And it's going to take some time. We're not going to see this immediate, oh my God, in 1 month, people know what a Montmorency Tart Cherry is. Oh my gosh, I wish it was that easy. Don't we all wish it was that easy? This will take time, just like the certified Angus beef took time, right? Eventually, people kept on seeing it. And when you go to buyers or ingredient, people kept on saying, what's this certified thing? Oh, well, da 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 da. And in time, people were like, oh my gosh, this means something. So we got to prove it. We got to use it, and we got to meet those thresholds of criteria and not abuse it. So we showcase to the world our integrity and our credibility. And when you have this on a package, you know exactly what you're getting. And once that starts to build into culture and people, yeah, we'll get some rhythm, but that doesn't happen overnight. It's probably going to take a couple of years. So this is about consistency, working it, and continuing to move forward. And will we fall sometimes? Yep. I have a phrase that I use all the time. I say, we are going to stumble forward. That's right. Sometimes I'm going to stumble. Sometimes we're going to fall. Sometimes we might get something a little off. That's okay. We get up, we brush off our knees, we fix it, and we keep going. And I think when we do that, and if we will do that with True Tart, it could be really exciting in the next few years on the momentum that could bring to this industry.
Absolutely.
So I'm super excited for what it could bring. I don't know what it will bring, but it's going to be fun. So
I think, and like influencers on social media, like I'm huge into that stuff. My wife's
Yeah.
always like, what are you buying now? And
Yeah.
I'm willing to try anything. And I'm always like, the health benefits of tart cherries, if it would just get out there.
Well,
Should we
you're
move into the
speaking
nutrition section?
Yes,
I know. I didn't want to bring this up, but I've been dying to say the nutrition.
Please. Oh, well,
We've
honey,
said it
you're
on here a bunch
speaking.
of times. We've
you're
been saying that we
speaking-
never talk about the nutritional
gosh.
value as much as I think that we should.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys are speaking my love language. You know that, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean, we could have a whole podcast just on the nutrition and where we are headed as an industry when it comes to health benefit research. So I am happy to dig into that. I
That would
love it.
probably be a good
Okay.
idea.
We
Yeah.
probably should just do a whole separate episode just on the nutrition.
I
too.
mean,
Should we record 2 today?
I mean, hey,
Hey, we
I,
can't short our next guest.
No, I know.
Is there a percentage of, how do I want to say this? A percentage of the product that a processor is going to have to meet to get
for True Tart?
the
True
True
Tart.
Tart
Yes.
endorsement?
Yes, absolutely. Like with any certification or trademark, there are standards that you have to meet. Listen, this is what I want to make sure people understand with True Tart is True Tart is not meant to be on every product that currently exists in the marketplace that we sell. That's a logo. I didn't create a logo. We didn't create a logo. We created a certification mark. So there's still going to be plenty of products out there that our processors make that won't qualify, and that's okay. But for the ones that do qualify with our minimum thresholds, you can use it. I'm not going to lessen the standard because then it becomes a logo and a slogan. And that's not what this is about. So I want people to relax about, well, what do you mean? I won't be able to use it on this product but it contains 4% Montmorency. 4% isn't a meaningful amount. Still sell that for that blended product. Make the sale, please, of course. But for blended or pure products that meet the minimum threshold, absolutely. So that's the difference. This isn't meant to be on every product that exists today. That would be kind of weird. Honestly, that doesn't really do anything. So yes, there are minimum thresholds. Yes, that will become very clear to all of you as the board aligns on the beverage thresholds. But absolutely, that's what a certification model is all about, is protecting our credibility so that when people buy or get our products, they know exactly what they're getting. And they can be guaranteed that with confidence. That's huge.
It's exciting.
That's huge. That's so huge. We can't do that today, but we will be able to do that moving forward. That's a big step. That's a big step forward.
So
Huge.
for the sake of time, maybe we skip the
Yeah.
nutrient section, and if Amy wants
Yeah.
to come back on, maybe later on in the fall, or maybe
we need just like
maybe
a
we have
quick
her-
rundown on the
I
nutrition.
can do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
How about that?
please.
2 minutes. All right. Because I think this is really important. But my bias, I'm a dietitian, I'm a nutrition scientist at heart. So this is like gets me really excited. Here's the scoop. There is already a meaningful body of published research on Montmorency tart cherries. So that's great, Amy. Can't we leverage that? Absolutely. But what we're doing now, which has not been done in the past, is we're evaluating the strength and consistency of that evidence. So we have a lot of published evidence, but no one has ever evaluated the strength of the evidence. Was it just one study? How many people were in the study? 4 people? We need to understand the strength of the evidence. I am thrilled to tell you all, we have done that on 3 big topics. Exercise recovery and athletic performance would be one topic. Sleep would be the second topic. And joint health would be the third topic. And here are the results. Muscle strength recovery is where the findings right now, today, are most consistent across controlled human trials. Okay? So that's awesome. I always do a stoplight analogy. So green light, yellow light, red light, muscle strength recovery. So this is how long it takes your muscles to recover after hard effort. Green light. There is no denying that when you consume tart cherry juice or concentrate before and after hard effort for about 5 days before the marathon, I'll use a marathon, and about 2 to 3 days after the marathon, it works. A lot of athletes use it. Why do athletes use it? Because it works and it's repeatable. So it's really easy to study exercise recovery, and we were able to get those green light results based on the published research that already exists today. That's awesome. But I get a lot of questions. What about sleep? What about sleep? Sleep is promising, but more work needs to be done. And that's where my focus is going to be over the next year, is really building out an informed health benefit research pipeline on tart cherry intervention and sleep. so that we can add to the current body of scientific evidence, make it stronger, so that we then confidently, with swagger, can talk about that. I'm not ready to do that now based on where the science is. And then last but not least, I have to talk about joint health, because boy, do I hear that most anecdotally. Amy, joint health saved my life. Tart cherry juice saved my life. I can now move better, walk better, all of that. The science isn't that great right now. It doesn't mean it's not true. It just means we have an opportunity as the industry to help feed that science to see if it can be substantiated through science. So that's what I wanted to share really quickly, probably a little more than 2 minutes. But we're doing a lot of work. And what I am so excited about and what I want you guys to hear is there is a theme of those three things I just talked about. Muscle strength recovery, sleep, and joint health all fall under an umbrella that is based on recovery. Ooh, oh my God, that's so exciting. And I really can't think of any other fruit that can deliver on these restorative recovery aspects. Sleep is recovery. If all of us don't sleep, we all know what happens. Our body needs to restore and recover. If I can prove out through better research that Tart Cherry helps with that, that is us, our product, solving a massive problem among most Americans. Wow. Now, the younger population loves muscle strength recovery. Great. And the older population really wants more around joint health. All right. So I got gold science on muscle strength recovery. So you're going to hear us talk about that a lot because we're confident and we have the swagger. Sleep, I'm building out. I'll eventually get to joint health. But there's a recovery aspect to this food that you all grow, that you all process and produce. That is phenomenal in today's world where health, nutrition, and functional foods matter. So you know what? Tart cherries, it's not supplemental magic. This is functional food that you can find in your juice aisle, in your dried fruit aisle, in the frozen aisle, canned aisle. That's exciting. And that's where we're headed with health benefit research and science.
Do you need human trials? Because I am
You
volunteering.
have to have human trial. I have to have humans.
Yep.
Do you have animals? Do you
No,
have
no, no.
animals?
I'm just saying, like, I'm.
He wants to do it.
I want to be the trial.
You want
Yeah.
to be a study participant? Well, well, you know what? I love that. I'm going to write your name down
Write it
because
down. I will do it.
I am partnering. We, the industry, are partnering with amazing external experts that are helping us have a different point of view, think differently on our challenges, give us different perspective. And I'm working with a phenomenal PhD nutrition scientist where we are tackling how we're going to get after sleep. And one of them is potentially like a trial, right? Like we get some people who drink Tart cherry juice. We get some people who drink, I don't know, a red colored Kool-Aid. Oh God, I'm showing my age when I say Kool-Aid, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crystal Light, whatever.
Just wait for the Kool-Aid guy to come through the
And
wall.
the Kool-Aid guy to come through. Oh God, Tart cherry Kool-Aid. Probably wouldn't qualify for True Tart. Kidding. I mean, yeah. But I think it's super exciting. How are we going to validate that? What does that look like? So that's what we're exploring in now. So some nice, juicy, very relevant science topics that we're going after. Candidly, when I walked in this room, when I walked in this role, I looked at the research and I was like, okay, we have this study on postmenopausal women. We have this study on blank, blank, blank. It was scattered. It's not going to be scattered anymore. We're doubling down on where we know the science is gold, muscle strength recovery. We're going to build out sleep because I think it's a yellow light, hueing green. And joint health, I got to get after. Right now, I would say joint health in the scientific literature is red light. But I hear you people. I know people are using it and it's working. So now I got to build the science to prove that out. So that's our plan. And I think it's, again, exciting and will give us a lot of runway in the future.
Steve would be an excellent candidate.
I love it,
working at
Steve.
Wilburellis,
Right.
farm
Oh.
market,
Yep.
farming,
Oh,
and Steve's got 4 kids.
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
his in-laws live
Throw
half
me
a
in
mile
there.
away.
Oh gosh, you're tired. You're tired. You're definitely tired.
The ultimate
Well,
recovery.
Yes.
as we all are, and most Americans are tired. And so I love these 3 areas. Again, I'm a nutrition scientist, so I kind of geek out, so I apologize. But I really love the life stages of these 3 areas. We have younger adults, muscle strength recovery. These are the marathon runners, the weekend warriors, or the football players. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, not this last year, but a year ago, they're drinking Tart Cherry juice. LeBron is drinking Tart Cherry juice. Luca is drinking Tart Cherry juice. All the D1 colleges have Tart Cherry juice in their locker rooms. So your question might be then, Amy, why don't we know this? Well, there's this little brand called Gatorade that's owned by Coca-Cola. So there's restrictions in promoting other beverages. But, that's super insightful for me as the new president to know, because that tells me, wow, this must work. And you know what? When we evaluated the science, sure enough, it does. How can I do that for sleep? How can I do that for joint health? So that's our path moving forward when it comes to health benefit research. And that will give us the foundation to talk with credibility and clarity on why U.S. grown Montmorency tart cherries matter and why you may just have to pay a little bit more because you're getting something out of it. Whoo, that's powerful, right?
That was awesome.
Yes.
I mean, to me, that gives me goosebumps. And that's what gets me up in the morning. This is a gift, you guys. I've worked for many brands on many products, and what a gift to be able to steward and lift up the Montmorency U.S. grown tart cherry. This is not a product problem. This is a communication problem. And now we're fixing that. So
Awesome.
Did
Love
you
to
get
hear
the
it.
show?
Love to hear it.
Steve's looking at me so thankful. He's smiling. He's got to do this all day.
now you're going to be in a sleep study. So get
I'm
ready
in.
for it.
I'm in.
I love it. I love it.
So maybe we'll switch gears a touch and talk about
Sure.
growers' return on their investment in supporting the
Fair.
marketing
Yeah.
order and the
Yeah.
FAIR study. So go ahead and explain
Yes.
FAIR and kind of
All
that
right.
whole process.
So I have notes here because this is a really important topic. And I know a lot of growers are listening right now. And I am not an economist, and I am certainly not the expert on this. Dr. Harry Kaiser is, but I know enough that I can definitely talk to it. But I'm going to reference my notes because I want to get this accurate, because words matter here, and making sure you guys get the most accurate information is really important. All right, so let's talk about the FAIR review, which is evaluated 5 years of domestic promotion. So that's what the FAIR review did. It evaluated 5 years worth of domestic promotion. So the last 5 years, which included COVID. And as we all know, COVID changed our behaviors a little bit, our purchasing, right? It changed for many our relationship with food. I don't know about you guys, but I probably bought like $400 worth of food before COVID really hit because I was so freaked out, right? So I think it's just important to understand that. So it found a cost benefit ratio of 2.98. So what does that really mean? So what that means is, in practical terms, that means for every dollar invested in coordinated promotion, nearly $3 were returned in net grower revenue compared to what would have happened without promotion. That's important to hear. Now, the next logical question, and I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I suspect you're going to go, all right, Amy, that's great, but the growers aren't seeing it in their pocketbook. You're exactly right. And here's why. Growers don't see a line item on their check that says promotion impact, right? I wish they did, but they don't. The FAIR review doesn't say promotion fixes everything. It answers a much narrower question. And the question that the fair review answers is, did promotion improve revenue compared to doing nothing? And the data shows it did. So that doesn't mean growers feel it dramatically in a single season. It means it helped protect value in a system with a lot of moving parts. Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. So I think Dr. Harry Kaiser, when he did the fair review, I always say he really he was measuring the difference between action and inaction. And without coordinated promotion, grower revenue would have actually been meaningfully lower. So this is not about creating a spike. It's about preventing erosion. And in a market where we have imports and a lot of volatility, that matters. So that, I hope, breaks down what the fair review is. The bottom line is promotion is working. We should all feel really good about that. The bottom line is, if we didn't have promotion over the last 5 years, can you imagine? Grower revenue would have been even lower. So that's really important to understand. And I firmly believe, although I'm a little biased, that the plan that we have, and that all ladders up to our North Star, our new purpose, which is to revitalize and sustain the U.S. tart cherry industry economically and culturally for generations to come. Yeah, I think we're going to have even better fair results. In fact, that's the challenge I put on myself. When Dr. Harry Kaiser or whomever does the next fair review in 5 years, gosh darn it, I think it should be even higher, right? So that's the fair review in a nutshell.
So the way that I kind of envisioned it is it's almost not fixing volatility, because I don't think that ever goes away in the tart cherry
It
industry,
doesn't.
but it's almost more of like raising the floor of of what the pricing can be. So
That's right.
with that promotion, it's more consistently providing us with a better floor, but also giving us a higher ceiling, as long as the promotion continues to be as successful as it looks to be in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, promotion alone doesn't fix price volatility, right? What promotion does, promotion strengthens demand, right? But price is influenced by so many other things, as you all know, right? It's influenced by crop size and inventory and imports and processing capacity and global conditions. So volatility doesn't just come from one source, so it can't be just addressed with one solution. And I think sometimes when people see and hear the fair review, it's like, remember, this is looking at promotion, and if it didn't exist, it would have been so much worse. So anyways, just building on your thought there.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about communication in through and with the industry, and how kind of
sure.
we keep informing everybody at the same time. I know that, and Trevor said you talked about a newsletter that you're rolling out. I think
Yes,
was it once a quarter or something like
yes.
that. Talk about the newsletter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the newsletter creates consistency, right? So the newsletter we actually launched back in August. We have a new newsletter every quarter. So under my leadership, we've had 3 newsletters go out, one in August, one in November, and one just a couple of weeks ago in February. So a shout out to all your listeners. If you're not getting the newsletter, please email me, Cohn, COHN, at usacherries.com. We will get you on the distribution list, and you will receive the newsletter moving forward. The newsletter provides a lot of powerful, good information and education. So I do think it's valuable. And good news, it's not 10 or 15 pages long. It's pretty tight, because the newsletter is about consistency and education, because we realize not everybody can attend every meeting or webinar. And everyone in this industry deserves access to the same information. So the newsletter provides that steady touch point. It's a place to recap decisions, highlight progress, and preview what's ahead. In fact, the last newsletter I did, which I believe went out to the industry on February 10th, is all about the FMO coming up. So again, that's a great resource if you're still like, what's the FMO? What are all these tools? What is the industry doing? Read the February newsletter. It should really help. It also reduces the telephone game, right? So growers can hear updates directly from the industry, directly from the source. And I do believe that over time, when you hear directly from the source, that builds clarity and trust.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah. This has been fun.
You've been amazing.
You guys are so fun. You make it so comfortable. It's almost dangerous. I got
Good.
somebody in a sleep study.
Yeah.
Yep.
When do I start?
I don't know.
I'll call you. I'll let you know.
All right. Awesome.
So we talked a lot about the federal marketing order. How do we,
I did.
as an industry, or what is your goal to try and raise or change people's opinions about that, if they're feeling against
About
it?
that. Yeah, about the federal marketing order. Well, I would tell you education and communication. The more we can communicate and educate and continue to listen and learn from one another, the better we're going to be. And so I'm on the road all the time and I never complain about it. It's real. I'm probably on an airplane at least twice a month, visiting our regions, talking, educating, learning, presenting at conferences. That's how we met. So that's what we've been doing, because we know, as we all have known, that March is the referendum. That's when the vote's going to happen. So it was really important for me and for the leadership of this industry to showcase to the industry as a whole that it is a new day. We have a new structure, a new leader, a purpose, strategies, tools, and activations. This industry is not what the industry used to be. The industry is awesome, and it used to be amazing. It's not about that. We look at the past to help inform and educate us, but now we keep our eyes forward and we keep moving. And that's what I hope this industry can understand. It's a new day. We are working on your benefit every single day. I can tell you that from the depth of my soul. And I want this industry to know that we are changing things to make things better for you. We are reforming the OSF. We are creating new tools like the True Tart. We are out and about educating in the regions, at conferences, doing webinars, producing a newsletter. We're doing so much to showcase transparency, consistency, and we need you. It's funny, at the very beginning of this job, there was some commentary by a few people like, Amy, you're going to save the industry. Amy, you and Curious Plot, our agency on record that the fabulous leadership of this industry hired right before me. You guys are going to save the industry. And I said, no. We are going to save this industry. All of us working together are going to uplift and save this industry. And so that's what I've been trying to do over the last several months. That's what I've been trying to do since I've been in this role, is creating that roadmap. I wish we could go from decline to growth. Wouldn't that be great? But we're going to go from decline to stabilization, and then we're going to soar. That's the plan. It's funny. I often remind people we were in a really intense OSF reform meeting, I don't know, last month. One of the members, and it was a great 8-hour meeting. Oh, it was great. But it was so
Those
great.
words have never been in
I
the
know.
same sentence
8 hours
before,
and
I don't
great.
think.
8 hours of deep strategic thinking on reforming the OSF. Hard work. And one of the members were cleaning up, everyone's leaving, getting in their car, and he looks at me and he goes, "Gosh, Amy, is this what progress feels like? And I looked at him and I said, yep, because hard work is good work. This is hard work. What we are doing in this industry, what the growers are doing, what the processors are doing, what you all are doing is hard work. But you know what? Hard work usually means it's good work. God, if it was easy, I wouldn't be
Everybody
here. I wouldn't be here talking to you, right?
Right.
Like, so yeah, progress can feel sometimes exhausting, but now we know our North Star. We know what we're going after. We're making deliberate, meaningful choices. And you know what? When you make choices, that means there's things you don't do. That's okay. We'll get to everything eventually, but right now, what do we have to do to win? So that's why we've landed on 3 strategic mandates, which is improve industry profitability, starting with the grower. That's where the OSF work comes in. That's where True Tart comes in. Second one, drive marketplace growth by growing awareness and consumption. That's Curious Plot. That's marketing and promotion. That's me being at external conferences with top tier influencers and communicators. That's educating them on our story and why this product matters even before True Tart launches. Imagine when True Tart launches what I can come to with external audiences. Wow, right? Imagine what I can do with external audiences when we build out sleep. What? You see what I'm getting at? Now that's meaningful. And then that third strategic pillar, unite the industry to drive our mutual success. That is about communication, education, being front and center. It's why I'm on a plane twice a month, and I love it. It's great because that's how I learn. That's how I grow, and that's how I can help this industry be better and do better. And those are only 3 strategic mandates. We don't have 10 strategic mandates. Oh my God, we couldn't do it. Focus. We got 3. We're going to go after them, and we're going to get some stuff done. And that's really exciting.
Is there any other industries out there that use a similar marketing order or OSF? And is there any success stories with that?
Oh, these questions are good. There isn't. So, to the best of my knowledge, industries that have an OSF have either gotten rid of it, or this is really important, or they've kept it in the toolbox, but they choose not to use it. That's really smart. I always say be careful about getting rid of a tool. Okay? Like a regular toolbox, I don't know about you guys, but I don't use my wrench that much. I could get rid of the wrench easily, but God, a year from now, what if I need that wrench? Right? So I do think it's interesting. I do think we have to reform the OSF. We obviously have a team working on that. But I do think keeping it, but letting it collect dust could be an interesting strategy, right? And we've seen some other commodities do that. So that's just one of the considerations that working group is considering. We are there's a lot, listen, I call it, we're throwing spaghetti on a wall and we're seeing what sticks. And that's the freedom and that's the leadership I bring. I love throwing spaghetti on a wall. And what I mean by that is I love sharing unfiltered ideas. There's never a bad idea, but which ones stick? Which ones do we think actually have relevance? And which ones do we think we can actually cross the finish line? Now that gets interesting. But if I filter my spaghetti on a wall, we may never get to that golden idea, right? So we really need to encourage that more. And we're doing that in the OSF working group. We are looking at any and all options, one of which, do we just get rid of the OSF altogether? Maybe. But what are the unintended consequences of that? And we're working through that. So, a really important, great question. Not a lot of industries are using their OSF. Some have thrown it out completely. Some keep it in the toolbox and let it collect dust. Yeah.
I only have a couple more questions. You guys have any you
Yeah.
want to jump in on
No.
before we?
I got one more. In the in the
Of
80s,
course you do.
In the 80s, in the 1980s, 90s, we were producing anywhere between 380 to 400 million pounds of tarts in the States.
Wow.
Now we're down
Wow.
to roughly 250 million. Why
We-
are we facing restrictions now when our industry has shrunk so much?
And the production's never been as low as it's been.
Yeah. Why are we
Yeah,
still facing restrictions, and there's no restrictions placed on the foreign markets
Yeah.
or
So tell
imports?
me, yeah, great. So tell me what you mean when you say restrictions, just so I understand your thought process.
I guess, why are we dumping fruit on the ground
Yeah.
when we can produce? I mean, we can sell all the product that we have here in the States. Why are we dumping it on the ground?
I think that's a fair question. I'm not sure I even have an answer for that, to be really candid. I think that is but that question right there is a really good one. And it's at the heart of what we're trying to figure out when it comes to the OSF reform, right? So please know we hate the fact, and we know how frustrating that must be for growers to throw their fruit on the ground, especially as we see imports coming in that are cheap, that aren't nearly as good as ours, and they're lowering our price.
And like you said, they're not a Montmorency cherry.
Oh God, they're not. But they say they are.
Yeah.
And then that causes consumer confusion, and that erodes our ability to market our product here in the United States. True Tart's going to help with that, right? All I can tell you right now is we are working through that. That is a hearty part of this OSF reform conversation. And we are going to come up with standards and a process that is going to be incredibly transparent, incredibly data and fact based. I don't mean to imply that the OSF has not been that. So please don't take it that way. But I'm coming in with a fresh set of eyes. I'm a clean slate for all of you, which is great. And I am a scientist at heart. So I'm a data junkie. I do not make decisions if I don't have facts. And so we're really making sure that we have that. So you're going to see some different levers when we reveal or start sharing our recommendation on the OSF. And I think you're going to see that we are going to address the very concern that you just brought up. What I can promise is we're going to have a new recommendation. And I can tell you all, we're working really hard on figuring that out. The spaghetti on the wall is being thrown. We are being unfiltered, so we make sure we're thinking of everything in every case scenario. We are not afraid anymore that we're going to say the wrong thing, because we have built trust and unity within that group. And I want that trust and unity to overflow within this industry. Because the more that we can trust each other to have this freedom of thought and inspiration, the better we're going to be at innovation, the better we're going to be at selling cases off the shelf, the better we're just going to be overall. So that's what I can promise you. What I can promise you is what this new reform is exactly going to look like, and that it's going to solve every burden that cherry growers face. I think there's always going to be burdens and hurdles to overcome, and that's going to depend on a variety of things. Sometimes it's Mother Nature, right? Sometimes it's other situations. But we know right now, even though I can't control global production, what we can control is differentiation, promotion, and disciplined coordination domestically. And OSF is a big, big part of that.
Is that a good answer for you then?
Yeah, that's
Perfect. So if somebody wanted, we talked a lot about the FMO, obviously a very hot topic coming into
Very hot.
March this year. If someone wants to get even more information, is there a location that they can go to
Absolutely. So I have a webinar tomorrow. I realize this probably won't be out by tomorrow, but I have a webinar on Thursday, February 20th from 12 to 1:30 that is all about the FMO. Literally, that's what it's all about. We talk about the FMO, we talk about the tools, we talk about the OSF Reform Working Group, we dive deep into True Tart. Dr. Harry Kaiser will be presenting. I'll be presenting. One of our chief consultants that we're working with, who's a business analyst, David Clark, will be presenting, and then Curious Plot will be presenting. 90 minutes. We're going through it all so that you guys can be informed and feel educated before you go and vote. So I realize you're hearing this probably after February 26th, but here's the good news. We record all of our webinars. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I missed that webinar, I want to hear it, reach out to me. My email again, acohn@usacherries.com, and I will send you that recorded webinar. Okay. I will send you our newsletter from 2 weeks ago, which is thorough, not long, but thorough, and will really provide some really foundational knowledge. So those are two things off the top of my head that I would strongly encourage anybody who's hearing this. If you don't have the newsletter and you weren't able to attend that webinar, reach out to me. I can get you both. I promise you they're both really beneficial. And then the third way is just to call me or reach out to me. I'm an open book. Hopefully that's pretty obvious. After this, I'm super transparent. I'm incredibly humble. I'm an open book. Call me, text me. It does not need to be formal. It just, any questions. No question is a dumb question. I've had to learn so much being new in this industry, and I'm still learning, and I'm learning from all of you. And I think the more we can all embrace that, the better connected we're going to be as a whole. So those would be my three things: the newsletter, the webinar, and just emailing me or calling me.
Mm-hmm. I think we should wrap it up with a question that'll bring us full circle from the beginning.
Great.
Give us one more sticky note off the wall.
You want one more? All right.
Give us one more.
All right. Oh God. Well, I have two. Can I give you? Okay. All right. Well, all right. So I have another, and I'm looking at them so you can see. One sticky note, I think this was the first sticky note I put on my wall, has two questions on it that every time you're dealing with a business, we are a business, and what is the product that you are selling? Ask yourself two questions. Am I solving a problem? Well, with muscle strength recovery, I am. I like that. Sleep, I probably will be. Or, and it's really great when it's an and/or. Am I solving a problem, or am I delivering joy? Okay. So I used to work at General Mills, which makes Cheerios, and most people know what Cheerios are. And I always bring up this example to bring these two questions to life for all of you in a tangible way. Honey Nut Cheerios has been the #1 selling ready-to-eat cereal for at least 15 years. It's probably 20 now. And when you ask yourself why that is, I can give you the answer. One, it's made with oats that have been clinically proven to help lower cholesterol, and that is firmly on the front of pack. So that is solving a problem. I have high cholesterol. I can eat this. My cholesterol will lower. And Honey Nut Cheerios is also delivering joy. Kids eat it. Families love it. It's a little sweet, not too sweet. It's not as boring as plain Cheerios. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not sugary like some other cereal, right? So why Honey Nut Cheerios from an N of 1? Why is it the #1 selling ready-to-eat cereal for at least 15 years? Because it delivers on both of those questions. So I come into Tart Cherries. I have this sticky on my wall, and you know what I say? We do too. U.S. grown Montmorency Tart Cherries 100% delivers joy. I would argue it might be the most joyous fruit out there. No offense to other fruit, but it's bold, it's red, it is distinctly sour, it's unapologetic, it is a smile on your face. I mean, it is all of those things. And I think this industry, because this industry has been struggling, has forgotten that. And I am here to tell you, we are embracing the joy. And hopefully you've seen that when you've seen me externally. The joy comes from us. The joy is in that food. Now, are we solving a problem? Heck yeah, we are. We know we are with muscle strength recovery. Some may say that's too niche. I say, I hear you, but it's fact, it's proven, it's green light. We're going after it. I'm going to go after hopefully solving sleep and eventually maybe hopefully solving joint health. So do you see what I'm getting at? That's a really important sticky note that I look at and I go, all right, True Tart. How joyful is True Tart, right? So joyful, but it's also solving a problem for the consumers and the buyers to be guaranteed that this is U.S. grown. I'm supporting an American cherry farmer, and it's Montmorency, which I know has the nutritional backing that I want. That's my other sticky note.
I love it.
Mm.
I have two more for another podcast.
All right.
Yeah. My sticky notes are just, just a couple ideas here and there, not nearly as thoughtful or deep as that. And most of them end up crumpled up in the garbage anyway. They don't quite make a wall.
Hey, I have a lot of sticky notes that end up in the garbage too. And I don't even know when I started this or how I started it, but I'm glad I did because it
Right.
helps ground me. I'm building strategies for this industry. I'm trying to solve problems for all of you. And at the end of the day, are we solving problems? Are we
Mhm.
delivering joy? Because you guys, we're a food after all, and food should be enjoyed and cherished, and it brings people together. And Tart Cherries does that in a lot of beautiful ways. And that's a great story to tell. And we're going to tell it.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for coming on. This
Oh
has
my gosh,
Seriously.
of
been so
course.
fantastic.
Oh, yay. I'm so
I think
glad.
you've answered a ton of questions. I think you've shedded some
light.
a bright light
Yep.
on the industry,
Good.
and I'm excited for people to hear this.
Good.
I told you guys, I told myself I wasn't going to say this, but it's like, I don't know how much of a NFL follower you are.
Oh,
but
I love NFL. I'm huge into sports.
Oh no.
after the first time I heard you talk, I told Bruce Velica, I said, you're kind of like the Dan Campbell of the tart cherry industry, like the
I
ultimate,
love that.
the ultimate motivator, passion for the game.
Yes,
I
I
told
would
myself I wasn't going to
definitely.
compare you to
I
Dan
appreciate
Campbell today, but
actually
here we are.
huge
You hate to see
compliment.
it.
Huge compliment. Many of my friends in the Tart Cherry world definitely know I have a very deep love for sports. I'm a basketball fan, but love football. That's a huge compliment. But it's funny. I was talking with a friend the other day and I said, I would totally be the hype person on a team. I would totally be that person
Oh,
before
yeah.
we go out on the court.
I can see it. I can
For
see it right
sure.
now.
For sure. Yeah, it's authentically who I am. This is kind of how I show up every day. And I would just say, how do I do that? It's a privilege. This is a great problem to have, right? This product is amazing. We have promising science. We have now promising communication tools like True Tart. We do have a federal marketing order toolbox that does help. And so making sure this industry understands that as we move forward in this new day under new leadership with a new structure, I think the next 5 to 10 years for this industry are going to be exhilarating and exciting. And I can't wait for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
has been-
One last question. When is the vote going to be
Ooh,
for
good
the
question.
marketing order? And
I don't think, yep.
if it gets voted down, will there be any funding still for marketing?
Woo! All right. You have the golden. These are good questions. All right. I don't think Stephen from the USDA has let me know yet, although I've been with you guys for a few hours and things happen all the time. And so I don't think I know the exact date for the referendum, but I do know this. It will likely fall within the last week of March and trickle into the first few days of April. That's the most specificity I can give you right now. Second question, which is a juicy one. If the FMO gets turned down, I would just say the bulk of our funding goes away. So the work that I have talked about would dramatically slow down and likely come to a stop eventually. That's how important FMO is to this industry. So I'm not here to sway your vote. I'm just here to educate you that if the FMO doesn't get voted in, that is an incredibly dramatic funding change for this industry as a whole.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this again, thank you so much for taking the
Yes,
time out
thank
of your
you.
day. I know that
course.
when we were trying to set this up, you're in this different country or you're over here on this trip here and all over the place. So it means a lot to talk with
Yes, of
us,
course.
talk about specialty crops and specifically Tart Montmorency cherries and obviously everything that they can do for us and a body and, as a whole in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to have Amy back on.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to get
Maybe
into
we meet up at
the
the expo
nutritional
in Grand
stuff.
Rapids and we talk about the
Absolutely.
study that Steve's going to be in
Yep.
and
That's
all
right.
the nutrition.
Steve, get ready. I'll give you a buzz. I would love
Yep.
to talk with you guys at any time. We have some really exciting stuff happening over the summer. And so I think there's going to be a lot of potential juicy updates for us to talk about. So let's definitely stay connected, but appreciate the time today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you,
Yes,
Amy.
thank you
Great
so
job.
much.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Talk later.
So obviously to tease a couple more episodes that are coming up, we talked a little bit about federal crop insurance that you'll hear. Steve wasn't here for that episode.
Nope.
We will also be talking with probably one of the most recognizable faces in the apple industry, Kate Thornton. She'll be coming up in a couple
Apple
episodes.
Girl Kate.
Apple Girl Kate. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Good talk.
Thanks, everybody.
Another episode in the books.